Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. The mother of Elijah Vu, the 3-year-old at the center of a massive search effort, is back in Manitowoc County Court today.
A judge ruled there is enough evidence against Katrina Bauer to move her felony case, her child neglect case, toward a trial. Bauer and her boyfriend, Jesse Vang, were arrested within hours of Elijah being reported missing more than 3 weeks ago in Two Rivers. Both face felony child neglect charges. Brittany Schmidt in court once again for us. She joins us in the studio with today's First Alert update. Brittany.
Cammie and Bill, we didn't learn anything new about the investigation today in court, but we did learn Bauer's case is headed to trial. This morning, Bauer waived her right to a preliminary hearing. It relieved the state of having to prove their case against her, but the judge found enough probable cause in the complaints to move forward. Bauer's defense attorney also withdrew a motion to drop one of the charges against her client. Bauer will be arraigned next week, during which she is expected to enter a plea. Meanwhile, Vang is still waiting for an attorney. He does qualify for a public defender, but one has yet to take the case. His preliminary hearing is pushed back to next week. The victim's family did not address the court today, but one woman who attended the hearing tells us she will continue to join community searches for Elijah.
I know a lot of people, and some days they're okay and the next day they're not, because they're wondering and they're worrying. How can we all just sit here knowing where's that little boy? Somebody needs to tell us whether he's gone or he's here. I think that's the big question for everybody right now.
Police have not released an update today about their investigation into the missing boy. The reward, though, for any information that leads to Elijah Vu is now up to a combined $40,000. If you have any information that could lead in the search or help with the search, call the number you see there on your screen. Bill.
Brittany,